A few days ago, as the night sky across the Middle East lit up with a deadly barrage of drones and missiles being shot down, halting Iran's genocidal intent in its tracks, it was clear to all that, as I said at the beginning of this conflict, this has never been about Gaza or the Palestinian cause. There is something much bigger at play. It is a war with Iran, a war of values, a great civilizational battle that touches on the essence of who we are. Pesach is our moment to discover clarity amidst the utter bewilderment and shock that we as Jews have experienced since October 7. It all seems so surreal, what we've been through over these more than 6 months. How is it possible that in response to Hamas's barbarism, there's actually been a massive surge in antisemitism globally for diaspora Jews, and Israel has been demonized, bizarrely dragged before the International Court of Justice on charges of genocide, while fighting a genocidal organization that uses its own citizens as human shields? How to explain the disproportionate global focus on Israel, a tiny country with a population of 10 million, smaller in area than the state of New Jersey and the Kruger National Park? The world's continuing obsession with Jews, comprising 0.2% of the global population. No one should even have heard of us. And yet Israel has been the uninterrupted focus of the news cycle across the world for every day since October 7. None of this makes rational sense. It just seems incomprehensible. So what's really going on? The only way to truly understand all of this is to search for a new framework. The clue lies in Jewish history itself. When you try to apply any conventional paradigm or rational analysis to Jewish history, it simply does not fit. None of the tools and principles that historians have used to analyze the trends of history are useful when it comes to the Jewish people. For a start, we shouldn't even be here. We are the only one of the ancient nations still in existence, the only nation in recorded history to have survived mass exile, been scattered to every corner of the globe, and then regrouped and returned to our ancestral homeland. When a nation has been exiled, in a generation or two it disappears without trace, and yet here we are, intact, same land, same language, same values, same religion, same nation. There's the mystery of our survival. And then, of course, there's the great puzzle of anti-Semitism itself, its unrelenting persistence for centuries and its unique viciousness. There's no known theory of history or sociology that can explain all of what has happened to us. The clue to solving these mysteries, to finding a theory that can make sense of all of this, is a single astounding fact. It was all predicted. Everything we have witnessed in Jewish history, even as it has defied all conventional laws of history, was actually foretold to us thousands of years before it happened. Take anti-Semitism. We all know the famous words of the Haggadah, V'hi she'amda. Not only one arose to destroy us, but in every generation they rise up to destroy us, and the Holy One, blessed be He, saves us from their hands. But did you know these words were recorded more than 2,500 years ago? And did you know that V'hi she'amda is rooted in a promise that God made to Abraham more than 3,800 years ago, as recorded in the book of Genesis, a covenant with Abraham and with us, his descendants? But the predictions go further. The exile of the Jewish people, how we have been scattered to every corner of the globe and would survive and thrive and ultimately come back to the land of Israel, that was also predicted thousands of years before it happened. First, the exile. You I will scatter among the nations, leaving your country desolate and your cities in ruins. And then the promises of return. Then God will gather you in from all the nations. If you're dispersed, will be at the ends of heaven. From there the Lord your God will gather you in, and from there He will take you and bring you to the land that your forefathers possessed, and you shall possess it. These promises were recorded when the Torah was given more than 3,300 years ago. Who could have known then what would happen? Only the Creator of the universe. And this is the clue to discovering the secret of who we are and the meaning of Jewish destiny. The only natural conclusion we can draw is that we need a supernatural frame of reference to explain Jewish history. And when we try to impose a rational explanation on our history and on current events, October 7 and its aftermath, we get stuck because there is no rational explanation, only a supernatural one, foretold to Abraham, recorded in the Torah, imparted by our prophets, and discussed at our Seders for centuries. Many dreamed, as Theodor Herzl did, that somehow the modern state of Israel would become a country like all others, that it would normalize the Jewish people as a nation like any other, and by doing so end antisemitism. Herzl attributed the European antisemitism of his time to the fact that Jews were stateless. But now, especially post-October 7, we are waking up from that dream to the cold reality that it was an illusion. It was never going to be. Really, we should have seen it from the beginning. The birth of the State of Israel was miraculous. A tiny nation within 3 years of the Holocaust, fending off 5 invading armies at the first moment of its existence. Why should these nations even want to have smothered this tiny country before it was born? The hatred even then defied a logical explanation. And since then too, how could it be that there are more United Nations resolutions against Israel than the rest of the world combined? That it is the only country in the world with a global movement denying its right to exist? How can it be that within living memory of the Holocaust, there is a new credible threat to obliterate another 6 million Jews, only this time with a single detonation? In time, this small, vulnerable population prospered, developing a strong army and a flourishing economy, absorbing millions of Jews from all corners of the globe. Both the adversity Israel has faced and the success it has enjoyed defy logic. The only way to understand all of this is to reaffirm the foundational truths that Jews for thousands of years have understood with absolute clarity. We are a nation with a divine mission given to us at Sinai by our Creator to be kept loyally through the generations, recognizing that all the supernatural suffering and success our people have experienced for millennia was predicted in the Torah, understanding that the story of our people is taking place on another plane, living proof of the presence of God. This is the message of V'hisha Amda. For generations, every Jew understood this. We accepted it not with resentment, but with a sense of privilege and of solemn responsibility to our divine mission. And at our Seder tables, we sang the somewhat discomforting words of V'hisha Amda with joy and pride, glasses raised in defiance and with clarity of purpose. Now more than ever, we need to see Israel's enemies for what they are. We need to know who we are, embrace, not resist, the uniqueness of the state of Israel and our Jewish identity. We need to realize that if we want to truly understand the divine gift of the land and our modern state, we have to see it as part of our divine mission. This understanding is critical to the national security of the state of Israel. After the hope that the wars would finally come to an end has now been shattered, how does a new generation of Israelis summons the resolve to continue? Surely after 75 years, we shouldn't still be fighting for survival? Is Israel worth fighting for? The new generation of diaspora Jews are asking themselves these same questions. What does it mean to be a Jew? Is it worth the pain and danger? This new generation also wonders why so many hate us. On campuses throughout North America and the world, many young Jews are bewildered at the hatred they thought they would never see. With antisemitism and the Holocaust darkening their Jewish consciousness, they are faced with a sense of incredulity and also the real option of seeking a way out of all of this by exiting our people. Young Jews in Israel and the diaspora will blame themselves, losing confidence in the legitimacy and justice of the cause of the Jewish state, eventually losing the will to defend it. The answers to all these existential questions can be found at the Pesach Seder. As we sing the words of V'hisha Amda and reflect more deeply on October 7 and everything that's happened since then, and we see it as part of the broader context of Jewish history, we recognize in the face of the Hamas gunmen the same incomprehensible hatred of the Russian Cossacks who burnt us in our homes, and the Spanish inquisitors who tortured us under interrogation, and the Romans who massacred our people and ransacked our temple, and the Egyptian taskmasters who worked us until our bodies broke. But, and this is the critical point, we don't leave it there. On the Seder night, we place all this pain in the context of a greater story, the story of who we are. That is the literal meaning of Haggadah. It is a story, our story. And that story has a definite arc. It has God-given meaning and purpose. We are a nation born through miracles, through God's direct intervention in history and charged with a divine mission. And that's essentially the story we tell at the Seder and share with our children. How we were born in slavery, how we suffered oppression that went beyond the bounds of normal human prejudice, and how we were freed not through any liberation movement or natural process, but through the miracles of God, through the 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, a fulfillment of the covenant God made with Abraham. We begin the Seder with the exalting words of Kiddush, declaring our Jewish mission statement, our God-given calling to do His mitzvahs, to follow the precepts and wisdom of His Torah, to carry the light of truth and goodness and sanctity in the world. And we end the Seder with the soul-stirring words of Nishmat Kol Chai, a beautiful prayer evoking the ultimate redemption of all of humanity, a world illuminated by the divine light of peace and holiness. We acknowledge the pain of more than 2 centuries of slavery and hardship in Egypt, but we don't end there. We go beyond the bitter herbs. We eat matzah, the bread of our freedom. We drink 4 cups of wine, each corresponding to an expression of redemption. Let this Pesach be a watershed moment for all of us. Let us rediscover the clarity, the understanding, the moral vision and spiritual memory we received from our Creator at Sinai that we need to navigate this post-October 7 world. Let us hand these truths on to our children so that they will care about the Jewish people and our divine mission and destiny and want to be part of it, enough to want to defend it and to live it through their values and to hand it on to their children to do the same. May Hashem bless us all, that this Pesach, the time of miracles and redemption, brings us the ultimate redemption, when the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces and remove the reproach from His people, the time when freedom and peace will reign across the world.